Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. Thanks to Tim Nichols for Big Dave, nice and clean. However, Little Bob is feeling under the weather. That's because I was a little bit too aggressive the other day, and you can see I pulled out a huge chunk of the bed. So I'm going to attempt to change the bed material. I don't know if I should turn it on and heat it or not first, but what I'll do is I'm going to pop it out here, unplug it, and bring it onto the bench. Back to the bench. I unhooked it all up. Look how long that temperature wire is. Strangely long, right? Anyway, turns out, interesting enough, I notice here there's a couple of diode footprints and a resistor because it can illuminate while it's active. But there you go. It's been through a lot. It's had a lot of abuse and I don't begrudge it. Now, I didn't happen to have a round one of these, but I do have a square one. And because it never really prints right to the very edges, I think this is good enough, and I've got it. So it's something I've already got. So I did turn it on a bit because I wanted to make sure it was a bit warm, because I feel it will help in the removal process. Now be really careful. I kind of feel if I get this wrong, I'm doing a lot of feeling today, you'll notice. If I get this wrong and it shims over, that's going to be game over for my hand, isn't it? So maybe a glove could be in order. Ooh, so far, I have to admit, so good. Oh, look, it's that sort of process where when you're pulling it, it's got all those little strings there. Look, I'm cutting the strings. Although that did put a score mark. Yeah, try to keep it flat if you don't want score marks, I guess. That's not too bad at all, though. That could be... That's the trick, I think. Look, that's the technique. Now, the trouble we might have is cleaning what's there, but that's the next stage. We'll worry about that in a minute. Wow. Now, I didn't actually find any of the round sticky. I could only find complete beds, and that is definitely an uneconomic way of doing it. I'm going to try this upside down because it does score it the other way. Maybe this way's a bit less bitey. It would be uneconomic because, of course, they're charging the bed as a significant proportion of the cost of the machine, which doesn't seem fair, just to replace that little piece of film. But it could be just genuinely they don't really stock them and people are just trying it on. You might have some distributors that are trying it on. Oh, look! Now don't pull too... Oh, that's really good. Look at that. That pulling technique left that really clean. What if I... Ah, yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, you might be at the mercy of distributors. Now don't pull too hard though, because the last thing you want to do is bend this aluminium bed, and I can see it already does have all sorts of crazy curves going on, so maybe I did already bend that. Just as well you have the self-leveling going on these. Might be a good reason why they have it. Okay, let's get some chemicals and see what works for this adhesive. First thing we're going to try, some lovely IPA. Just going to pour it on. I'm going to pop the lid on because we don't need to huff that. By the way, this is what came with the printer. It's really good. Oh, IPA, tell you what. Initially I thought it was working, but maybe it's not. It doesn't seem to be... Seems to be just skimming along the top, but let's try with the... I'm going to put IPA in the maybe column. Let's give it another go. Maybe if you left it to sit on there. I feel it would probably work. It's stinking out the place. Next up we have some acetone. Now acetone tends to actually be quite aggressive, so I'm going to just do a little bit. Whoa, that's way more than I wanted! On there. And I'm just going to quickly dash and get another bit of blue. Because this one's totally saturated now. Probably use gloves if you're worried about your skin. It's very tingly. It's clearly an irritant, so be very careful. I'm going to just finish this and go wash my hands immediately. Be careful where you put down your rag, of course. I'm going to say acetone is a kind of a maybe. It's leaving it quite sticky, but it could just be that this is saturated. It feels insanely cold because it's evaporating. The solvent is evaporating and taking the heat with it, and it's also filling the whole back office with that horrible acetone smell. But I guess all in all, it really is doing a better job than the IPA. It might be nice to actually just finish this with the IPA, but it's got a general stickiness to it, which I think is probably something that we don't mind keeping. Yeah, I think that's okay. Look at that, you can see it is pretty clean, and it does have a couple of those score marks unfortunately, but I don't think they're going to cause too much of a problem. But before we go any further, what I am going to do is I'm taking a 1000 grit emery to it, and I'm just giving it a gentle buff all over, and that's going to give it a very slight key. And what it will do is, if there's any high points because of these scores, and honestly honestly you can hardly feel them at all, it'll just make sure they're not standing proud, because we don't want it to just touch the adhesive on the bottom of the new bed and cause any distortion. And I know it's such a minor amount compared to the overall warpiness of this aluminium when we're done. We're going to have to self-level anyway, but this will probably last you the remaining life of the machine really, so it's worth spending a few moments on it. I think that's enough now. Just going to give it another last wipe down. And now, actually, this would be a good time to use the IPA just to give it a final little tack wipe. If you have a tack cloth, you could do that. If you've got any car spray painting things, whatever you got. Car spray painting things are often pretty good because the surface has to be so clean to ensure adhesion that they generally do work quite well. So I've just got that on there. That is looking, it looks like a part of a satellite or something, doesn't it? It's got wires coming out of it and it's made of metal. Definitely, that screams space to me. And just a bit of gentle low. Nice. Oh. Okay. Now I can't remember which way round this goes in the machine. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's nice to have the hot surface do not touch at the front, but I guess who cares if it's wrong. So I'm just going to put that there. You can see at least that's some sort of orientation. In fact, that probably is the correct orientation because there are little brackety things. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this says 3M. Double coated tissue tape. So we're going to just, don't want any dust. This has been lying around for a while. I've been using it as a mouse mat. It's really good as a mouse mat. And that is, oh, it's really super sticky, very tenacious already. So we want to get this as close to the center as we can. I kind of wish maybe that I had spent some sort of time marking it up, but I think that's good enough. It's not quite right. Oh, it's not coming off though. Let's not worry about it. Not sure. Maybe it would have been better to put the black surface on the bench and then lower the plate onto it. But again, there's so few things worth worrying about. And this is definitely not one of them. Giving it a little rub, and then we're going to flip it over and cut it. Okay, got to cut it. Not sure what to cut it on. Sort of use a chopping board right now, but I just realised something. Maybe we can flip over our board here. Yeah, it's only just dawned on me I could have done this all along. I don't know why I didn't. Anyway, doesn't matter. So let's pop that there like that. Oh, it's so sticky. Just those little bits, as soon as you touch them, bang, you're stuck. I'm just gonna trace around the edges. It's not really rocket science, but this stuff is surprisingly thick. Suspect, wow, that's definitely took a few goes. So that's the one. I'm going to put these on the side. Maybe we can use those to fill in the gaps. And you're saying, why would you fill in the gaps? It's going to be so obvious that you've done this. Well, the reason I'm wondering is because there are brackets on the 3D printer, and where these are not, where those are gaps on that bed, the brackets might want to sit, and we might need something to space them out. And they would be pretty good spacers, seeing as they are exactly what was supposed to be there. I wonder why these are so expensive too. It's clearly a piece of aluminium with a PCB bonded to it. And that PCB is basically acting as a big resistor. And there's going to be a thermocouple in there somewhere. Well, we can see the thermocouple because that's where the white wires are going. This white wire here to this pad underneath here. And I think that's just an insulator, because all of the electronics for the machine sit immediately below that, which is literally like the worst place to have them. So they definitely have added that little bit of insulator to help protect against that. Let's flip it over again. So maybe yeah, I think I'm a bit doolally if I think we're going to get any goodness out of that. Yeah, I think we'll just take our chances without them. As you can see, we are at the journey's end, and little Bob is busy levelling its bed, and it's going to take some time doing this, and when it's done I'm sure it's going to work absolutely fine. Something I did notice though, as just an observation, is that these feel quite smooth in comparison to the standard unit, so I might need to see how we are with the bed adhesion, but that's something to look out for if you're looking for replacements. Hopefully that's been of some use to you. It's a bit warm. Please let me know if you know of any vendors selling these, so I can, maybe get a proper one on here. Thanks for watching. Hooray! Nice and clean.